What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of BurlyFishing. Today, I've got a reel gamut for you. We're going to compare two reels, then maybe more on future episodes, but today specifically, the SLX versus the SLX DC. Is the DC worth $90 more? I've fished them both a ton and I want to talk to you guys about it today. So we're going to compare them head to head. We're going to talk about some of the differences that I've noticed on it. We'll keep it to the basics today, and we're going to try to determine which reel is the better reel for you, and if it's worth $90 more to go ahead and just chip in and do the DC, right? Hopefully I can help you make that decision today. Before I do it, if you guys like the content, be sure to subscribe, smash the like, ring the notification bell so you can see when we post more videos, and let's get to it. So we have the SLX and the SLX DC. They are similar in size and profile. This is the 151XG. This is the high gear ratio, the 8-2, the 8-2 to 1 gear ratio. All that means is that it is rotating that reel like 8.2 times per turn. So we're peeling off a lot more line with every single rotation. So that's a high gear ratio one. Of note, there is also another model, which I do not have, which is the Shimano SLX XT. And it's really just a more durable, I guess better made or better engineered version of the SLX. This one comes in at $99.99. The XT is $129.99. And then that DC there, digital chip version, is $189.99. So is this worth that much more? That's what we're trying to figure out. So let's go through the basics here. It's a reel. You hold it like this, you're reel. If you're a lefty like me, if you guys are righty tighties, you reel on the other side, right? There's not much to it. You know, the Shimanos, this one's easier to open, go with sort of like this gear system as far as like your mag brake. So you pop this side plate open, pretty easy to do. In fact, on my SLX, this falls open a lot. We'll talk about why it's a problem. And then you can set this up. So if you go like 3 of these little bad boys, these little pins open, it's like having it your brake setting at the midway point, right? And that's usually where I like to keep mine. It works for pretty much every type of bait I could throw. So the SLX I think is a good size for my hand. Can hold on to it nice and easy, can reel no problem. You can also notice this one, this is the SLX. I've had this one for a minute, you know, and it is, probably needs some maintenance. It's a little rattly at times, so I need to like check this guy out. But that said, I beat the crap out of this thing. So I think it holds up really well. For a $100 reel, this is hands down my favorite reel in the $100 range. Tried a ton of different reels. We're gonna compare some other ones on the channel as well, from Abu Garcia, for example. This for $100 is like insane. This is such a crazy value. And for like $30 more to get the XT, I think based on what I've heard, it's a pretty absurd reel too. So maybe for $30 more, you get more durability out of it. Might be worth it. Been fishing this one for a while. It's one of my favorite reels. I do enjoy it thoroughly. It's kind of like my go-to right now, but I did just pick up a couple new reels, so it might not be my go-to anymore. But solid reel in general. So again, this is the high gear ratio. Spool tension knob, I want to be honest, I like it when they click. And these Shimanos on the SLX, at least they don't. So there's their spool tension right there. You can tighten that or loosen that depending on the weight of the lure you're throwing. You're gonna go a little bit tighter if you're over spooling or having trouble birds nesting, things like that. With a heavier lure, go tighter. With a lighter lure, go lighter. So lefty, loosey, righty, tighty, there you go. I do like the star drag system on these. I think it's pretty ergonomic, pretty easy to deal with. You don't, you know, the rubber grips as far as your reel handle, pretty great. Yeah, all in all, I think it's really well made. I'm psyched about it. I don't think I should really get into all the nerdy stuff about it because I don't think there's a point for most of you guys out there who are just like, give me a good reel that I can go fish with. If you want the nerdy stuff, can read a box, right? But in general, things you might want to know, these have like a pretty light drag compared to some of the other reels I fish. But it's a 12-pound drag, which is fine. I mean, you can rough in just about any fish. I rough in some big ones with these. So the standard SLX uses a 3-bearing system, like a 3+1 system, which means it's pretty smooth. As you can hear mine, It needs some maintenance, but it's pretty smooth, usually less maintenance. Again, I've been fishing this one for almost a year, maybe more than a year at this point, a while, and it's still pretty smooth. So, gotta be happy with that. Durable, smooth, lasts a long time, machined really well. It's a Shimano, like you can rely on it. I like it. The DC, on the other hand, let's talk about this guy for a second. This reel, I would say, lived up to expectations. I wouldn't say it blew expectations out of the water though, and maybe that's an unpopular opinion. It is the cheapest DC reel on the market. DC stands for digital chip, which means there's a little computer in here that tells this reel what to do. So first things first with this thing, I think it's really well made. It doesn't like rattle out of the box like my SLX does. You know, I've got it spooled up with some lighter braid, 15 pounds. This is a 6:3 to 1 ratio as well, so this is like a little bit of a slower gear ratio. And I rig it up to my more plush rod, the Duckett Silverado, as a cranking setup. And I got to fish it a ton this past weekend. And I gotta say, like, first things first, right out of the box, didn't make any adjustments, cast this thing out. You hear that just like computerized zing, that sound that you guys know so well when you watch fishing YouTubers casting a DC type reel like this, or a Curado, or the super high end reels, you're gonna hear that sound. I gotta say, I love that sound. Even more in person, it's almost worth the 90 bucks just to hear that sound. Just kidding, it's not. But the sound is pretty sweet. And even though this is like spooled up with lighter line, didn't make any adjustments right out of the box, just went ahead and casted a spinnerbait. It did not overspool. I didn't even touch it. No thumb control whatsoever. I just cast it and sat there. And it worked right out of the box. Later on, I started getting into some trouble as I used heavier lures. But for the most part, you know, I didn't have to do much. I just had to dial in the spool tension a little bit. You do have the mag brake setting here on the side, which I will say this is kind of a pain in the butt position. I've seen the XT and it's like right here. Here is kind of a pain in the butt. Here would be a lot better, just saying, Shimano. So you got to kind of like, you know, use your finger or your thumb just to adjust that. And I usually, like anything else, I just keep it set at like the middle, like a 3, 4, 5, somewhere around there, depending on how it's holding up. But like I said, worked right out of the box. Really well made, I think, really well built. This is the 151, by the way. That tells you it's that 6:3 to 1 ratio. You're like 7 to 1 ratio is like a HG model, and then the XG model is like that fast 8:2 to 1 type ratio, like my other SLX, in case you guys are looking for models out there. It's hard to find these in stores right now. This being September 2020, the worst year in mankind's history. You can't find these very many places, but I will say you can find them on Amazon. That's where I bought mine. So if you guys have been searching, you're like, man, I want one of those reels, just go to Amazon. They're all there. It's weird. I was like, how did I not check this in the first place? They're all there. What the heck? But yeah, so all in all, really liking this reel. Is it worth $90 over this SLX? I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't think it is, unless you're fishing a ton and you just want something extremely reliable that is easy to cast, kind of cheat codes for fishing, then maybe I'd say that. I would almost say if you're in the market for just a better reel, let's say you're fishing like a $50 reel and you just want to see if there's better stuff out there. I mean, there is. You want to step up to that next kind of level, maybe go to like the $80 range. Maybe push to the $99 SLX and fish that for a while. That's what I did. Fish this thing for like a year, see how you feel. If you're really digging it, maybe move up to this. But that's how I do it. Like I've talked to you guys about this before. I started with super cheap kayaks, went up to middle range kayaks, and eventually found my way up to my Hobie Pro Angler. So I like to like fish the things, try the things at the lower range and kind of work my way up. You know, that's not the only way to do this. I'm not saying that's the only way that's right. If you guys are, you know, you got 200 bucks to burn and you want a sick reel, there you go. It's the cheapest DC you can get on the market. It saves you 60, 70 bucks off of the Curado DC, which I think is like the next best one and probably the next one that I'll end up getting. But all in all, sick reel. I love it. The sound it makes, amazing. I think it's built or engineered a little bit better than that standard SLX or even the SLX XT. It's a sick reel. I like it a lot. Again, you know, probably like one of the things that gets me, maybe this just bothers me, These spool tension knobs, man, I wish they clicked. I just like that click. Maybe it's just a tactile feeling, I don't know. But it's just sort of like a screw loose, you know, lefty loosey, righty tighty, and just screws. I don't know, could be better, could be better. You know, this one's a little bit, I don't know if you guys can really tell this by looking at them side by side, but the DC is a little bit bulkier. I think that's just the DC side of it. It is a little bit heavier as well. I don't know if that, it's like just a tiny amount, a fractional amount heavier. It's not enough to make it a big deal. It's not enough bigger either to really bother me at all. I don't have tiny hands. I guess if you guys have smaller hands, maybe that'll end up bothering you. But that said, Shimano has come out with a lot of these MGL models, which is like just this much smaller profile reel, which maybe is a better fit for you. And again, I do like this silicone, like this rubber or silicone, whatever material this is supposed to be. The power grip, they call it, on these little bad boys for reeling in. I love that. I love it. Thing's well made. You know, I'd do it again. I would buy the DC again. Is it better than the SLX in general? I think they both cast really well. You know, the DC is going to be, again, like a cheat code basically to cast. You can cast forever. You guys have seen a million videos out there. I'll show you a couple clips right here of me casting both of these so you can see them kind of side by side. This makes the noise, this doesn't. This is much less likely to overspool even if you're casting into the wind. This, honestly, I haven't overspooled that much. Like I have not, I think I've had 3 or 4 bird's nests in my life on this reel. So it's not that big of a deal. Like they both cast really, really well. And again, maybe that's the unpopular opinion. You got to go DC. It's amazing. It's the best thing on the market. I'm going to tell you, it's marginally better. To me, worth $90. To you, you decide, man. You got to make your own decision. It's your money. You spend it how you want or how you feel comfortable. I like it as an investment. I don't think that it's totally worth the extra $90 for most consumers. So for me, I'd do it, but that's because I want to try these different reels out. It's kind of like I get the excitement from that. If you're just looking to fish, you don't necessarily need to do that. But if you're looking to level up your reels, again, my opinion, start with like the next range up in the dollar amount that you're spending. So if you have a $50 reel, spend $75 to $100. If you got a $100 reel, go to that XT, check it out, 130. Abu Garcia Revos or the Zada, which we review in another reel video, in that 150 range. And then then you're at like that DC range, and then maybe you're at the Curado range, and then maybe you're at like the Mentium range. Like you can just keep working your way up through those different price points. But I try like the lower price points first, just my opinion. Here's some footage casting these bad boys, and you can get an idea of what it's like with the SLX versus the SLX DC. And they're both on the same rod that I'm gonna show you as well. So there's no like, oh, that was this rod, that was that rod. It's the same Silverado Ducket rod. Can see what they look like. Check this out. So we get our first bass of the day is all I'm looking for, man. Deeper. Need to be up there. I'll turn around and hit it again. Hang on. Spike myself in the face. That like medium diving crankbait that came, the little smaller guy. That's my best bet for these deeper sections. So, next reel to test out here, folks. This one I'm pretty psyched about. Oh, it made the sound. It makes the sound. I'm so excited. Dude, just took my thumb off, let it roll. Yeah. Like out of the box. I haven't done anything. No spool tension, anything. Yeah. All right, guys, so that's the SLX versus the SLX DC. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. You know, this one's $100, this one's $189. So you're looking at about a $90 difference here between the two. My personal preference is I went the DC route because I just want the best thing there is, and I'm just gonna keep leveling myself up through the market. But I believe that the SLX is an insane value of a reel, and you can't go wrong with it. So all in all, that's those two reels. Hopefully this is helpful for you guys if you're in the market for some new reels. Go out there and check them out. If you can't find them, look on Amazon. They're there. They exist. They're being made. The market's making a comeback. We're going to catch up to the demand. Don't you worry. If you guys like the video, be sure to subscribe, smash that like button, and ring that notification bell so you can see when we post more videos or drop more giveaways. Otherwise, see you out on the water.